Let's turn to another good game at the weekend. Spurs hosting Manchester United. Big glamour fixture in the Premier League. Had some great history down the years between these two teams. Maybe didn't quite go as planned, or certainly as Erik ten Hag has planned. Ange-Ball came out on top, Rob. Spurs came out 2-0 winners. In a contested first off, where maybe Manchester United feel maybe a little unlucky they didn't get the lead. As the game wore on, I have to say, I was more impressed with Spurs and what they were doing and how they were doing it, and their sort of evident joy in trying to play a bit more football, Rob. And I was, in contrast, a little startled by Manchester United, whose drive, whose determination, whose kind of hunger to get something from the game got worse as the game went on. And it was one of those, Rob, where I think it was 9 minutes at the end was added on for extra time. And I never once for the 1 night of the 9 minutes felt like United were really going to get back in the game.
Funny game
is a little bit damning of this group.
No, it is damning, and we'll get into details of that. I mean, it was a funny game, Rob, because I expected Tottenham. They didn't play as well as I thought they might in the first half. And to be fair to Manchester United, Rob, the first half an hour they were the better side. They had great chances to score a goal. Bruno Fernandes' header was, I mean, I described it maybe harsh as a comedy header. I mean, he's 6 yards out and it flipping bounces off his head and goes. It was a crazy moment in the game. But United, to be fair, were at it a little bit and they possessed the ball well. And City and Spurs couldn't get out, Rob. They played out from the goalkeeper to the centre back and they did all this stuff, and they couldn't find a way through. They kept gifting the ball back to Manchester United. Second half was very, very different. All of a sudden, Spurs find a way to connect passes. They score a really good goal with Pape Sarr, who is part of a new midfield, Rob. And just before I let you jump back in, just a little bit on that. I mean, talk about indicative of the new coach, the new manager. How about Højbjerg on the bench? Skip out the side. Pape Sarr and Yves Bissouma. If there's one player that kind of like sums up the difference of the last two managers with this manager, Yves Bissouma now looks $1 million, a player that wants to get on the ball. The last two managers didn't want Yves Bissouma because he's too fancy, he's too technical, he's too risky to have on the ball and to try to make those passes and flicks and stuff like that. Ange Postecoglou is like, I like that. You're good at you could technically we could do with that. So those two I thought were outstanding in the middle of the park, and maybe, Robert, a little point to what this Ange-Ball looks like. Those two were outstanding.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's interesting in this era of 150 million pounds Caicedos and players at that level. Yves Bissouma, a player we saw back in the day and said he's talented and thought Tottenham was the step that he would go on to and be a platform. And as you say, for some reason Jose and Antonio didn't fancy him, whether he wasn't safe enough, whether took too many risks maybe with the ball, wanted possession more instead of just moving things on and sitting in front of the back four. But looks a proper player. Looks like almost like a new signing. Pape Sarr's young man who's there, who'll probably be in and out the team, as the toil of the season goes on. But it's amazing, Rob, isn't it? How a new coach, a new thought, a new mindset can make people look so different, make players look so different.
Incredible.
And that's what Ange's come up with. And the thing that I like about this guy, Rob, is it looks like he's got real courage in his conviction. Like, he knows what he wants and he knows how he's going to do it. And, triumph or failure, he's going to do it his way. And you just get the sense the players are enjoying it. And the fans, mate, are enjoying it. You get the sense that the fans are behind. They haven't just scraped away, they beat Man United, but they played football to beat Man United. And that's what Tottenham's always been at. The Tottenhams we've played against have always had footballers and footballing teams, because that's what they demanded at that football club. And they went away from that with Conte and with Mourinho to say, OK, let's just win. Let's just get up there and let's just win. And we'll forget some of the football. But, what Postecoglou's got to show now is he can produce winning football as well as successful football as well.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a long season. It's a really nice start for him. But I think when you look back at it, Rob, I was excited for this experiment really with this coach. After what I'd read about him, some good friends of mine are Celtic fans, and you're gonna 2 years ago, Rob, they were like, Premier League's going to come and get him. Our manager's going to come to the Premier League.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's happened now. With all that being said, Robin, given the expectation levels, I'm going to chuck in my underappreciated is Ange Postecoglou. And, listen, I'm jumping on it really early.
Don't mind it,
and I know there's going to be, it's going to be this road. I think it's going to be ups and downs throughout the season. But right now, given what people thought and given what the expectations were and the spirit around the club with Harry Kane leaving, oh my goodness, it's going to be a disaster now. And what are they going to do? And who's this guy? His Australian accent popped up in their press conferences. But it just shows you, smart coaches, don't care what they sound like when they talk, don't care what they've been to in the past. He has been successful and he's won at every single job that he's taken. This is a jump up, but I just think, no more. I think respect will come in, Rob, from everybody at Spurs, of course. I know others around the Premier League to think about this Tottenham team as being totally transformed and totally different. And with this transition, Rob, I'm going to chuck this one in as we go to Manchester United in a little bit more detail.
Wow, you're chucking in a lot on 2 weeks in the season, my friend.
I'm excited. Just considering the amount of change at Tottenham, right? With the squad, with the coach, with players going, and the style difference, which is like two ends of the spectrum. What a good response he's getting. Okay, let's switch over. Manchester United. No real change. Same manager. Another pre-season. $230 million spent on new players. There's nothing different about the style of play. That's what surprised me most about Erik ten Hag, Rob, that with little change, there's some changes, goalkeeper and Mason Mount, but otherwise, it's the same group. How can they be so disconnected, unmotivated, when we all know that Ten Hag's done a great job, he's added better players in certain spots, and yet they are so far down to what we saw last year, and we know that the team is capable of. Robbie, Earle, tell the United States and all around the world why Erik ten Hag at the moment can't get a tune out of this squad.
It's a very good question. Listen, we've heard some reasoning behind pre-season, a lot of travelling, players not ready yet. It might be like last season, Rob started season badly, might take him 2, 3, 4 games. We do know players, we've both played with players, we've probably both had the situation, Rob, where sometimes the season it doesn't quite kick off and you need 2 or 3 weeks of Premier League level to get you back in your game, then you feel right. But you would say it's happening to too many players, and also this style of what they're trying to do, the system in which he's trying to play. I mean, we saw them, we were live at Old Trafford to see the game against Wolves that they were lucky to win. We've seen them now at Spurs away from home where, as the game wore on, they got worse and worse, to the point where, and our great friend Roy Keane, who we saw last time we were up in England, basically said Manchester United are the new Spurs, Rob, which is pretty damning when we know that the great Sir Alex quote was, "This is Tottenham, guys, go out and do what you got to do. This is only Tottenham." When we started saying this is only Man United, so it's a bit of a worry, Rob, that I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to pose a question in the Mason Mount type player that you buy, and this isn't Mason Mount is a very good player, but Mason Mount is a very good player when your team's playing well. I'm not sure Mason Mount is a very good player when your team's not particularly playing well. Now, that's something that I think needs addressing. Casemiro needs some help in there. Yeah. I don't know if Mason Mount next to him is the right type, because I don't think he's particularly putting Casemiro in a great light, and Bruno a little bit higher up the pitch. So that's one issue. My second issue, Rob, or my second question is Marcus Rashford, who we've talked about at great lengths. How can Marcus Rashford be so talented on the left-hand side of the pitch? You put him down the middle of the pitch, and it looks like he can't understand what to do, or he can't work out how to play as a centre forward. This guy who's highly skilled, highly technical, a brilliant finisher when he's in form. How can just moving from the left to the centre take him so far off his game, Rob?
I don't know whether he wants to play there, Rob. He looked. We saw him. We saw his body language at Old Trafford against Wolves. He looked frustrated, miserable, as if he doesn't want to play there. I think when you're in a wider position,
but Go on, sorry, go on, mate.
No, I'm just saying when you're on the left-hand side, that you're up and down, you're a bit more in midfield, maybe a little bit more involvement. When you're playing as a centre forward, you've got two centre backs that can get nice and tight to you. If you're not keeping the ball well, you're back to play all the time. I think everybody knows that his best position is wide left. And we are still, and I know they've bought Rasmus Højlund, and he's still come back from a back injury, and that is his new striker. But I think we're all expecting him to take a little bit of time to settle. He's still young, he's very, very raw. Manchester United still need a forward. That's one issue. Back to your midfield issue. I think if Manchester United are passing the ball as they normally do, then Mason Mount becomes different, and you get Luke Shaw, Rob. Luke Shaw's the guy that pops into the middle of the park alongside Casemiro. Mm-hmm. There's your insurance for the counter-attack, and Mason Mount goes and does his thing, as does Bruno Fernandes. So I think that's a difference as well. Casemiro, again, I think he does need somebody with him. We did a breakdown on the tactics session, so check that out on NBC Sports YouTube channel, everybody, because we did a little tactics session. Me and Tim broke down that goal. They conceded Pape Sarr's goal, Rob, in terms of midfield that didn't really engage Pape Sarr going through to score. So I'll throw it back to you, Rob, with a comment that the press conference of Erik ten Hag afterwards is, I'd say, the most frustrated and rattled I've seen Erik ten Hag at his time at Manchester United when he's asked and pushed about why the team is struggling a little bit. Would you, if you're a Man United fan, Rob, would you be worried that this should, that compared to the other teams that we've seen over 2 match days, Man United are way down on third. They were third place last year. Do you think United fans should be worried that, is this getting away from us, or is this early season? He's a good manager. He'll find a way to fix these issues up front and in the middle of the midfield.
I think an optimistic Man United fan would say, the latter. That we started badly last time. We can turn this around. A win next week changes everything. All of a sudden, things can look rosier. What I would say, Rob, and it's something that's been attached to the club now for seems like forever. The sale of the football club, mate. The ownership of the football club. The conversations up there, mate, at some point have to be getting to a guy where we're in limbo. The football club's in limbo. Doesn't know if it's coming, if it's going. Who's in charge? Who's he talking to? Is it being sold? Is it not? I mean, all the other clubs have a little bit of clarity to a certain degree. Liverpool had to get some clarity, but I think Jurgen Klopp's got that now in terms of where they are. Pep Guardiola, has got some clarity in the way he works and what he does. Manchester United with Erik ten Hag haven't, mate, and football clubs are represented on the pitch with what's happening off the pitch, and Manchester United are not in the right place, not in a good place off the pitch, and I think that's why we're seeing some of what we're seeing out there at the moment. And the sooner this is resolved, the sooner there's somebody in charge who sets a new agenda, who gives some clarity, who talks about the future and can back that up, the better for Manchester United.
Yeah, well said, my friend. I think totally agree with that. I mean, that's the last thing on my notes as well, as the wholesale thing is not great. But listen, I think they are gonna bounce back. He maybe can demand a bit more consistency from Antony's, from Garnacho's, from Rashford, from Sancho. That worries me a little bit, but. No, it was an interesting game, and just, we'll move on now, Rob. But Tottenham, wow, it's so much different, so much change, fun to watch, and a couple more goals from them. So that was an interesting game, maybe the most interesting game.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.